welcome to Watercolor Studio 42, and today I'm still in the vein of Halloween. And a couple of years ago, I did a scene with an orange sky and an old rickety barn, and that came out real good. I did a couple of those, and they sold pretty well. So today I wanted to think of something a little bit different, instead of an old haunted house. And I said, well, I've got some pictures of some clipper ships, and the one that I had in mind here was a one that I got from the newspaper when they had the big celebration of the Henry Morgan being refurbished down at Mystic Seaport, and they brought it back for a visit along the New England coast. And New Bedford, of course, actually across the way from New Bedford, Fairhaven was the boatyard where they actually built the Morgan ship, the whaling ship, and it's the only existing wooden whaling ship left in the world. So now it's located down at Mystic Seaport in Connecticut. A great place to visit, by the way. And I've always loved doing pictures of ships, especially the old timers, the clipper ships, the mast and sails and so forth. And so this is what this is going to be now. To tie it in with a little bit of a Halloween theme, I thought I might do like the sky, like an orange sky, like I did with the old barn a while back, and then go from there. So it's going to be kind of a halo moon and the old barn. Not the old barn, but the old boat. I got the old barn on my mind. Okay, now, so I'll start in. Now, sometimes I wet the paper a little bit, and they call that giving it a little bit of a wash. So I'm just going to wet the area where the sky is. Predominantly it's going to be probably 2/3 sky and 1/3 water here, the way we've divided it up. And of course, if you've watched some of my classes before, I've been dealing with uneven numbers, like 1, 3, 5, so forth. So the mast on the boat is going to have three mast poles, and for the most part it's going to be in like a silhouette with the moon kind of coming across the way. So here we go, wet the sky. I can actually wet this down here where the water's going to be, but usually by the time I get down to that part, the water's pretty well dried up. But we'll just moisten it a little bit. This is only using just regular, water. Clean, somewhat clean, I should say. So anyways, now, after that's been applied, I'm going to mix up some orange. And I start off with a lot of yellow. And I use a lot of yellow. In fact, I can use the yellow almost as a base color, and just kind of wiggle the brush around in the area where it's wet water. So even put a little bit down in here. And so now I mentioned orange, so that's the yellow sky. So let's take some of my brighter red. And we're going to kind of mix the color on the paper here. Let's see if I can turn that. I may have to put, excuse me, I may have to put a little bit of more yellow into that, because it might be coming out a little bit on the red side. So we can add some more orange into that. Or I should say yellow, to make it orange. Here we go. Come down and through here. And for the most part, the boat's going to be in a silhouette. So it's going to be located in this area here. I'm just putting the whole background kind of a orangey sky, and let's put a little bit more, make that a little bit more orange, because the orange goes with the autumn, doesn't it? The orange pumpkins and so forth. Okay. Now I don't want to get this too wet because I want it to be dry when I put the boat in. Okay. Now I think I'm going to go, maybe we can hit, let's put a little bit of raw sienna. A little bit of the raw sienna. That's going to make it a little bit deeper. Oh, that's not, what am I doing up here? Let's mix that. I'm going to move that over a little bit. There we go. I don't want to get too much of that color there. We've got enough red. So I'm going to just take that red and put it across the top here. Take some of that out of there. And I'm going to come back in and hit this with a little bit of raw sienna. It makes it a little bit darker, that's all. Just a little bit deeper with the color. Because it's supposed to be a night sky. Let's see if I can get that out of there. There you go. All right, now what I've got to do before this gets a little bit too dry is to take my paper towel, and I want to make the moon in there. It can be a full moon, I guess. We'll try for that anyway. Let's just wet this down here. Okay. Now, I got quite a bright sky. That's good. Get rid of that one. And we're going to start off, I've indicated where I wanted the moon to go, right about in here. So let's just take the paper towel and see if I can make a nice little circle there. Get that a little bit more. And you can have the moon have a little bit of a halo around it, gives it a little bit of that glow. And you can put that in with a towel. Now, my moon is kind of moving. I want to get that circle a little bit better. It's kind of a full moon here. That's a little bit better. And a little bit more of the halo. Now, I can always work that halo also. I can pick up some of the paint with a brush as well as a towel. So I'm going to take the brush and just pick it out. Just pick up some more of that paint in there and just kind of control it a little bit better. Sometimes you use a paper towel, you can't control it as well. But sometimes the brush does a little bit better as far as controlling the, picking up the water. Bring out the color. We'll just bring that around here a little bit more. Yeah. And now the thing is, I can always go darker. And even if I start a little bit on the lighter side, it's better to start light and put dark into it than to try to start too dark and then try to lighten it up. You kind of have to keep scrubbing it too much to get it lighter. Now, I don't know if I can make this a little bit lighter inside the moon or not. Pick up some more of that orange. And maybe I can reshape that circle, full moon, just a little bit more in there. There you go. You can kind of tap that a little bit here and there to bring out some more texture. But that's basically the idea of that. Now, while I'm waiting for this, a lot of this to set up, I'm just going to go across here, a little bit across the bottom, and let's try try some green, sort of a little bit of bluish green. And I'm just going to go across the bottom and just put in some of the water. Now the ocean is going to be just a little bit off this way. I don't know if that's the shade I'm looking for. Not bad. Now see where it's wet, the paper's still wet. It's going to get a little bit blurry there, so I'm just going to kind of do the lower part, not so much the line across there just yet, because I don't want that to get too blurry. But we'll just break this up a little bit. Now, a lot of times when you do water, a lot of people think it's like magic. You just kind of can put the waves in and show some blue and so forth. Now, what it is with the water a lot of times is letting one layer of color, usually a lighter shade, and then build up. Let that kind of settle in a bit and dry somewhat, and then go over it with another shade. And that's what I'm doing now. See, putting some of that bluish green into the water down through here. And because it's sort of a night scene, I don't want it to be really during the daytime, because I want to get more of a cast shadow on the boat. It's going to be a little bit darker. So now I think the boat is going to be somewhere up in here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a darker shadow right in this area here, cast shadow from the boat. Now, that's unusual because you usually don't put a shadow in before you have the object, but I'm doing it a little backwards here. I'm just adding, while I'm using some of this green, this shade here, I'm just going to put some of that in, some of the shadow where the boat would. Where the boat is supposed to be located. Now, I've done boats before, like I said, a lot of clipper ships, and all these sailboats, my gosh, they have all sorts of rigging. Even the ladders are, rope ladders and everything. So it's quite an effort to make sure you don't leave anything out, because there's so many ropes. And there's a brush here that they call, it's a very thin brush, and it's called a rigger just because it's used primarily to put the ropes and things on the ships. So here we go. I'm just going to add a little bit more darker color in the corner. Let's see, right, this corner. See how you can build up the layer? Put those different layers of shading in the water. You got to get that sort of a little bit drier, so I want a cleaner line there. It doesn't have to be a real contrasting edge, but I just want to get it cleaned up a little bit more. And we can bring that right over. We can show a little bit darker shade in the corner over here. Actually, I should probably use a bigger brush, but we'll see if I can get that in here. Yeah, so it looks pretty good. There we go, right down to the tape, right off the tape. I'm putting the tape on. I make that false sort of a matte. So that when I get finished here, I pull the tape off, and it looks like I've got a white margin of like a mat around it. Okay, that looks all right. Something like that. You get little things happening here, but the boat's going to be located right in this area here. So now, this gets a little bit tricky, and the thing is, when you do a silhouette, it's very important that the silhouette looks a little bit more broken up and interesting. If you try to be too rigid with the silhouette, then it may not look as eerie or ominous that you'd like to make it. So you have to kind of exaggerate maybe a little bit with the contour when you do the painting and whatnot. Now, I think this is, I'm trying to let this dry a little bit over here. Get that, wipe that off a little bit. And what I want to do now, I'm going to come back and give this a little bit darker coat down here near the bottom. Usually for water, you end up doing about 3 or 4 or 5 different coats of contrasting color. You can get carried away and do too much sometimes. I'm going to turn this around. I don't want to take it out of the camera's view, but just turn it around. It makes it a little bit easier to put some of this in. See how I do the different layers of color into here. Here is going to be much darker, right up where the boat's going to be. I'll probably end up doing several coats of paint here to get the effect that we're looking for. Let's get a little bit deeper with the blue. There you go. Now, I'm always trying to balance this to that, you know, one side to the other, or the top to the bottom, or one corner to the opposite corner. And so I find it easier to tilt the board a little bit when you're trying to kind of chop up the edge a little bit. Bring that right across. I noticed lately a lot of times I'm being a little bit too cautious and with color, so that by the next day, by the time I look at my picture, a lot of times everything is faded a lot. So that means I have to go back, if I'm going to keep that particular picture and use it, frame it, or mat it, or whatever, sell it, whatever I do, I have to kind of rework it. And almost it's like doing the whole painting again when you have to touch up too much or darken too many areas. So I like to get most of that done ahead of time. Okay. Back and forth, break it up. Now you can it depends on what you're the effect you're trying to do. Now if the water's fairly quiet, and that's what's in this particular picture, it's a boat leaving New Bedford Harbor. Years ago, this was one of the older photographs of the whaling ship. Okay. Now it's all refurbished and good for another 100 years or 50 years or so. It's interesting because they've just refurbished the Mayflower too, and that's back in Plymouth now for the 400th anniversary of Thanksgiving this year. So, oh wow, I don't know if I want to go that. Have to be careful there. Of course, you know, watercolor, when it dries out, it's going to be a lot lighter. Yeah. Well, that's okay. I'm going to straighten my board out again, get it back where it was pretty much, hopefully. Now, the next thing I'm going to be working on would be, once this dries a little bit more, I'm going to be coming back and working on a little bit of the sketching of the boat. And I did some little not pencil, but pen and ink sketches here, just some scratchy things. And to work on this particular photograph, what I did here, I tried to see something in it that would be easy to copy. And I see the number 4. There's a 4 and a 4 and a 4 for the three sails. And then over here you got just some straight lines coming out a little ways down over on this side. There's 3 of the edges there. Then you've got a diagonal running out here for another sail, another diagonal. So by the time you get through, you've broken the ship up into, pretty much squares and diagonals or rectangles, whatever you want to call it. But the idea is to get that kind of interesting contour. Now, this is kind of, I'm going to work this a little bit more and see if I can add a little bit more contrast in that moon area. Just mix up a little bit of that. I usually sepia. It's a very dark brown, but when you lighten it up, it makes a nice strong shade of brown too. See if I can just get some of that in there. Just to give it a little bit more contrast. Okay, now I've got those in there, but I got to kind of pull them out. Pull them out a little bit more. Pull this one out over here a little bit more. A little bit more water on the brush, that would help. Okay, get that out of there. Pull this around. There you go. Just to give it a little bit more contrast in the halo around the moon. And the moon can have a little bit more contrast around its contour also. Just bring that around a little bit more. You can fuss with that all day until you get it the way you want it to be. But see if I can get that. That's better. I want to get that shape back there. Get that circle back. Clean up this a little bit here. Okay. Now I can go out here a little bit further. We'll see what we have to do later. Now, if this is dry enough, I'm going to help it along a little bit. And what I want to do in here is to do a little bit of sketching of the boat. Yeah, I think that's going to be okay. It's a little bit smudgy down here, water stain, but I'm going to hide. I'll come back and hide most of that when I do the contour of the boat. I'm going to put that in a little bit darker. So now, here's where the drawing comes in a little bit. I usually use a pencil, just a regular number 2B or just a HB pencil. Now, the main mast is going to be right about here. So I'm going to just put a pencil mark down to here. Make that a little bit darker. Then you got the other mast, the foremast in here, the one in the front, that's going to be there. You're going to have another one over in here somewhere. So you're going to have the three masts. Then you have the body of the boat. We're going to be heading out to sea. So let's put the bow something like on an angle like this. And let's put the, see, I gotta get the angle right, well, close as I can anyway, something like that. And the back of the boat is going to be approximately over here. Okay, I say approximately. When you do something like this, you don't always have to make it perfect. You know, it doesn't have to be that perfect as far as the drawing goes. And the back end there. Now, there's going to be a lot of filler in through here. I'm going to come down. This is where I'm going to show you this a little bit. I think I've got my fingers in the way over here. I'm going to pick some of that up. There you go. This is where I see the number 4 coming down. So I come down like this, and I'm going to go on an angle over here. So there's one of them. Then I come down, it's 4, 4 again. Now don't have to make that perfect, but just a little bit of an angle there. So I got 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one down here. Here's the number 4, right in there. And then you got the rest of the mast pole going into the main body of the boat. So now I got that in. Now the angle over here changes a little bit. It's a little bit more of a diagonal right there. Another one in here. 1, 2, 3, right? There's the third one. There's that angle. Now we've got the other mast pole, and that's going to come up. That's going to be up in here somewhere. See if I can bring that over. Yeah, I'm just going to put that one over into here. And that's going to be 1. And it cuts across here. There's 2. 1, 2, 3. And on this one, you're going to see a little bit more of the bottom. So, yeah, we got 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 there. That's 3 sail. We're pretty much under full sail here right now on the way out. And then down here, about 1, 2, 3, there's another diagonal where there's like a flag. They got the flag, American flag, that's on the back end here. And that's in the breeze, so that's got a little bit of a shape like that. Then what else we're going to put in? We'll finish off the mast pole here. Now there are some boats. On a whaling ship, they used to have these arms that would come out so that they could lower a platform so that when they brought the whale in towards the boat, the men could work on this platform and actually saw and cut up the blubber off the whale, and that's how they used to do it. So the boats would have some sort of like these arms that would reach out, but also, of course, you have to store the boats that they would chase the whale with, and so these are smaller wooden boats, and usually they'd have about 4 of those. They might have an extra one on the side, and of course, what they do, they leave the main boat and go out in the smaller wooden boats, and they would have the harpooners up front, and they'd get as close to the whale as they could, and they'd throw the harpoon, catch onto the whale, and they were often running because the rope would unfurl, and it would get so hot they'd have to keep pouring water on it because the rope would be going out so fast it would start smoking. That's how much of a fast tow that the whale was giving them. So they'd go on quite a jolly ride until eventually, I guess, the whale got tired of all of that and slowed down. But actually, it was one of the toughest jobs to ever have. You talk about some of these jobs that are dirty jobs or tough jobs. Well, whaling was one of the toughest jobs because they'd go out, they'd be gone for 2, 3 years or so until they got back home with the blubber, and then of course they would cook up the blubber and make it into the oil, and that's what that was all about. They used blubber oil, I guess, primarily for lamps and things. Okay, I'm looking at some of the things on the boat here. Now, obviously, I can't go into too much detail because we'd be here all night drawing all this fussy stuff. So I'm just going to just put in basically this sail. It goes out here. There's another beam or bar that's in that area. And then there's a lot of things going on up in here. You know, but like I said, I'm just going to try to make, for today, just a silhouette of this. And hopefully I can make it interesting, what I'm trying to do. Just a couple of ropes in there. And there's some other ladders, rope ladders and so forth, that go up into the upper part of the boat and whatnot. So there's a lot of fussy little detail, but I'm not going to get into too much of that. The drawing part. And primarily, I'm going to try to make this look like some sort of a silhouette. Hopefully that's what it will turn out to be. We'll see what happens. So as we go along, I can add a little bit more detail, but I'm not going to get too much into that. There'll probably be some thin lines that I can put in. Sometimes you can use a pen, a black pen for that, or you can use that thin brush, a rigger, or design brush, to put in some of the ropes and the markings. So let's see what I can do with what we have here, and then hopefully the contour and everything looks interesting by the time we get it finished. Now, I'm just going to see if this is going to work. Pen, yeah, it's dry enough, okay. I could use one of these permanent marker, a thin pen for some of the fussier detail. Now, I kind of got that a little bit messed up in here, leaning on it, I guess. So we'll just kind of clean that out, clean it up. Yeah, just get it cleaned up a little bit. I'll probably end up going over that anyways by the time we finish. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to be doing after I let this dry a bit over in here, I'm just going to clean this up. I think I got my hand or something in the way over here, so I might want to just clean that up. And probably, if anything, I might add a little bit more contrast to it so it will show up a little bit more noticeably. Now, I have to check here to see if this is going to be dry enough to do something with, and it seems to be coming along pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off using some of my Payne's Gray. I use a little bit of sepia in with that, and see if we can get a little bit more of this body of the boat in. Now, maybe it might be easier, for me anyways, if I turn this just a little bit over this way. Just turn it around, look at it, and work a little bit on the side. Okay. Now, what I have to worry about is making sure it's going to be dry enough, because I don't want my contour getting too blurry. Although you can make it more like a ghost ship, like they do in the movies sometimes. You know, you see the ships coming out of the mist or the fog or whatever it might be. And you can do something like that. Okay, we'll come along through here. I think you can go a little bit darker up and through this area. Get the idea of it anyways. And what I'm doing mostly now, I'm not worrying about too much how I'm going to kind of fill it in, but what I want to do is make an interesting outline, a contour of it, the outline of the boat, because it's supposed to be at night. And it gets this down here. Now this part's going to go into the water. So that's going to be, it can be a little bit smudgy across the bottom. But what I'm trying to do now is get this contour coming down here. Try to straighten that out a little bit more. It's going to go into here. That's going to kind of blend in with the reflection. And by the time I get out over here, towards the bow of the boat, the front end of the boat here, it gets a little bit bumpy in there. We can kind of break that up a little bit more. And then you got the mast going out that way. Let's get the side in here. Put that in. You can sometimes use a ruler. If you find it a little bit easier to paint in, you can probably use a ruler too, you know, when you do the outline. Especially if you're using a pen, you could come along, if you want to make a line a little bit cleaner, you can use a ruler. Okay, something like that. So now let's see what else. Now, if you feel that you want to, at any time you want to make something lighter, you can always do that. I'm just going to make this go down to the water line, something like this. And that can kind of blend in too, around the water line. There's really a specialty in painting boats and things. It's really quite interesting to see some of the artwork and some of the models that people have made of ships. Usually, they have a few at the New Bedford Whaling Museum, but also there's a gallery there that they have at Mystic, and they have some of the models that different ones have made over the years, and very, very skilled craftsmen worked on these things. Okay. I'm being kind of fussy here, but probably I don't have to be so much. I'll use a bigger brush when I get down into that. Now, to be on the safe side, I probably should do some of these thin lines with a pen. Now, I don't have my real thin liner with me today, so I'm going to do this with a pen. Let's turn this around a bit. Okay. Now, this looks like it's going uphill because I'm going to just bring that down. It's going to go into the water. I think possibly I can make this a little bit darker out here. And I'm going to be using my marker just to do that. Put that in. There you go. That's going to be going out that way. And then I'm going to do some of the mass. Let's get them started a little bit. And we're going to put a mark in here. Bring that down. That shows up a little bit better. Something over here. Let's make sure that's clean. There we go. I think probably use this edge. It might be a little bit better. All right. We'll put the line in here. This is going to be the middle one, so that's going to be a little bit taller than the others. Yeah, put that in. And we got another one over here. We'll put that in. Yeah, something like that. Now that's going to be, the poles are very thin by the time we get to the top. And they can taper out a little bit more. Okay, this one here, I'm going to make this, fill this in a little bit more. Probably about out to there. There you go. Now, let's fill that in up into here. Yeah. Okay, now what we're going to do now is we're going to do some of the contours of the outer parts of the boat. Now this part out here was supposed to be a flag, so let's see if I can get that drawn in. And I'm going to do this freehand because it has a little curve to it. Let's see if I can get that. Oops, look at the picture here. See where it goes. It has a little curve there, and then it comes down to a nice fine point out in there somewhere. There you go. And then you got the pole. And use this for the mast pole. Get that in there. Okay, you got that. Now, this is going to be a soft edge. This is part of the sail. So that, again, that has a little curve to it also. Comes in like that. And you've got, let's see, something coming down in here. I probably could do that freehand. It has a slight curve to it. And then over here, let's see. Yeah, we want to come across. Let's see, right across there. Let's see if I can get that in there. Yeah, line there. Then you got one. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay, we'll put a line here. Another one over here. And we've got another one. These don't have to be on a straight angle. They're kind of tilted a little bit. And then we got some lines coming out this way. And this one starts down here a bit. That's a little bit lower. In there, we got one over here. Bring that out. And then this one down here is a little bit shorter. Okay. You can kind of see it taking shape a bit, but as I keep working on it, I'll put a diagonal in there. That's over here, some other little lines here and there, so forth. Now, this is going to have a little bit of a curve, so I can do that freehand. Just put that in like that. And this one's straighter here. We'll put that in a little bit straighter there. And whatever we have left over, there's another little line that goes in there. There's going to be a lot of little lines in the, by the time we get done here. Now, I guess I could go probably over this one. I just finish that off. See if I can get it there. There you go. And I think the rest of it I can do freehand, no problem. Put another something in there. It's like this is probably easier than most pictures that you'd work on, because some of these things are so complicated. Oh my gosh, there's ropes everywhere. But I'm not going to spend that much time. Oh, I don't have that much time to spend on it anyways. So I have to work right along. Okay. All right, now, I guess I've got enough freehand and using my pencil for a ruler here. This one has a, wait a minute, where are we? Right in there. Just a slight curve to it. Say 1. We got this one up here. 1. And 2. Okay. That's something like that. Now, the big thing now is to just kind of fill that in a little bit more. And I think I can do that mostly with the brush. We don't have to spend an awful lot of time with the pencil and the pen. So now I mentioned about making this a silhouette. So I'm going to fill this one in. Just fill that in. This one here. Okay, I'm just doing some of the shadowing here. 1, 2, something like that in here. There we go. Don't have to make it perfect. See, that's okay, I guess. And we got down here. There's some more. Whoops, a little filler to do. I guess I can use my pen again. I'll just fill some more of that in. Okay. Let's see, we're out over in here. Make this a little bit wider here. Fill that in. And there's going to be a lot of little rig of ropes here, there, and whatnot. So now, let's continue on and see if we can fill in the rest of the picture here. Something like that. Fill this in a little bit more. There we go. You can kind of get the idea what we're all about. Let's fill this in. Okay, and we got a lot of little things happening down and through here. Let's turn this around again. See if I can work on it from the side. There's a lot of little bumpy things in here. Okay. Now, something else over here. Just kind of fill that in. Just so it looks like there's something, cabin, or like I said, some of the boats, the smaller boats that they use. And then I guess I'm going to fill this in down here on the bottom. Okay. Now, I said this is supposed to be a silhouette, so I've still got to do a little bit more with the shading. Fill in some of this in here. Okay. You get the idea of how this works. Now, this is usually a white sail, but it's supposed to be at night, so I'm just going to probably make it a little darker than what it is in the picture. We'll just lighten it up a little bit. Follow that curve a little bit more. There you go. And you can take your paper towel. You need to put a little bit of highlight in here or there. You can always do that. Let's finish this one off. There we are. Fill it in. Right down the line. This is where you kind of get a little bit fussy with some of this. You have to, and if you go over the line, if you just doctor it up a little bit, and don't show anybody the photograph. And they won't have anything to compare it with, So you can say, "Oh, that's the way it looked to me." Well, anyway, just fill this in a little bit more. Now it's supposed to be normally you'd probably make a darker silhouette, almost. But the thing is, it's got so much light. It would never be a real strong silhouette. It's more like the photograph is. It's lighter. But I'm going to just put a little bit more shadow in here. Now sometimes I leave a little bit of white showing through little windows, and it just adds some texture. It's one of the things that you kind of recognize in watercolor, that they do leave some little windows sometimes open. Let's see up in here. I want to work on that, fill that one a little bit more. There you go. You get the idea of how that works. Now, there is another, I think it needs something in here. But I'll put that in with a pen. It seems like it's kind of a fine line. Now, I'm just going to kind of work along here, just fill some of this in, and maybe not talk as much, just see if I can get some of it finished off so you can get a better idea. Down here it's got some little bumpy things going on. Okay. I just put everything in a shadow. Now the only other thing that I'm going to do now is just add some more rigging, some rope. Just fill in some of this. This one I'm going to do that. And you can just break it up with some lines in there. There's going to be a lot of ropes going here, there, and everywhere, holding everything that kind of in place. I'll show a little bit of the mast pole showing up better there. Maybe a little bit over here. Okay, now I'm just kind of winging it here a little bit just to show you how some of this works. There's a lot more detail that you can put in, but what I want to do is kind of finish this off down at the bottom to show some of the finished part of the boat and how it will kind of reflect into the ocean. This has to go right down into the water line. See if I can pull this out here. It's going to go right across and through there. Fill all of that in. Right through here. And clean up that line across. The ocean has to kind of set pretty level. And then I'm running out of time here. I got a minute. But we'll just show you what this looks like. It's supposed to be a silhouette. And there's a lot of things that you can add to break it up. I think it needs something filling in here just to hold that together. And you try to make the contour a little bit interesting around here. Probably needs to be outlined a little bit more. Just a little bit more out in here. Break that up a little bit more shadow. And when you do the water, when you come across here, you're just going to break it up a little bit more into there. Just darken that up a little bit more. All the way across through here. So it gives you an idea how this is going to work. This is going to be a little bit more filled in, a little bit more filled in down through here. And but that gives you an idea how you can make the boat. Now, I don't know if this boat is going to be that scary. I got to put a line in here. Now, I'm running out of time, so you kind of get the idea of how that works out. And I don't think my boat is going to be as much of a ghost ship as probably a lot of them are. Okay? So until next time, brushes up and, maybe I should pick up a brush. How about that one? Brushes up and we'll see you next time, okay?